Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a Lizardman Shaman guide for old school RuneScape in my endless adventure to make as many guides as possible, so hopefully you guys enjoy. If you do, make sure to leave a like. On top of that, plenty of links you can check me out and support me at down below in the description. I appreciate that greatly. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into the guide. So to start, should you kill Lizardman Shaman? In my opinion, it's a yes. If this is a Slayer task, they're good profits, a good XP, so I like it in that regard. If it's off of a Slayer task, it's obviously not as good because you're not going to be getting that passive Slayer XP, but it's still pretty decent. Keep in mind, you're going to run a big risk here if you don't get a Dragon Warhammer, so if you're going to be here for the long haul, then it's more worthwhile. If you're here for a short time, it's going to be kind of hit or miss. For the requirements, you'll need 100% Shazian favor to be able to kill Lizardmen Shamans in the first place, so that's a pretty hefty requirement. At the moment, I do not have a Shazian guide, however in the future I will make one, and then I'll link it down below. I also put 61 range as a requirement, that way you can use a rune crossbow, and then beyond that 40 prayer for protect from range is needed as well. Lizardmen Shaman are weak to stab and range-based attacks. In this video I'll be talking about range since that is the best method to go about killing these. They attack with a range and melee-based style, so that's why it's nice to attack with range, because if you attack with range, they can only really attack with range, and thus you can protect from it. And the reason that's important is because their max hit is a 31, so not anything to be messed with. It'll either be a 31 or a 21 depending on the style that they attack with, but either way, if you're susceptible to being attacked by both, that's very dangerous. Loot wise, you can expect hard clues at a 1 in 200 rate, elite clues at a 1 in 1.2 thousand rate, and then the big daddies is the Dragon Warhammer at a 1 in 5,000 rate, and overall the loot per kill is about 10.5k GP. This assumes you're bringing an herb sack and a rune pouch to be able to alch things and stuff like that to maximize your profit per kill. So for the gear options here, we have a low, medium, and high level setup down below. The consistent theme throughout all three of these is that we have the Shazian armor, because there is this acid-based attack that can get thrown at you, and if you're not wearing the Shazian armor, you'll have to avoid it or take damage, and if you're wearing the Shazian armor, it doesn't matter at all. So it's better to go with the Shazian armor since it's pretty powerful. Beyond that, just looking for some good range DPS output and some prayer bonus as well. The best option here is the blowpipe still, even after the nerf. You can bring the best darts that you feel comfortable bringing. Adamant's perfectly fine. Lizardmen Shaman have pretty low defense, so you won't have to worry too much about it. In addition to that, the Slayer helmet can be used here after you've completed the current hard diary, and there are a few extra options for weapons that I didn't mention but are perfectly suitable if you please to bring them. And now we'll get into the 3 different locations that you can go to and the inventories for each. So the first one I'll be talking about is the Lizardmen Temple. You can find this to the southeast of the Farming Guild. The best way to get here is through the Skills Necklace teleport to the Farming Guild. Second best way is the Fairy Ring code CIR, and the third is the Battlefront teleport. For the inventory here, I have 3 Divine Ranging Potions. You can bring regular Ranging Potions as well if you'd like. Then I have 2 Antidotes, Stamina, a Holy Wrench to be able to utilize my Prayer Potions a bit more and save some money. In the Rune Pouch here, I have Natures, Lavas, and Waters. This will allow you to cast the Bones to Peaches spell along with the High Alch spell at the same time. If you don't have Bones to Peaches unlocked through the Mage Training Arena, then you could bring the Bones to Peaches tablet so you can buy off the Grand Exchange as well. That would work perfectly fine too. Then 10 Prayer Potions and 10 Sharks. If you find yourself needing more or less of either, you can balance that out personally, but it'll just depend on how cognizant you are of what's going on around you. Usually the worlds in here are pretty full, so you're going to have to hop around just a little bit. I prefer these 2 rooms right here since they are the closest to the entry point. This one's typically the one that I go for, but if needed, then I'll go on over there. So now that I found an open world, before I go ahead and get on in there, these are the tiles that I have marked in the western room. Keep in mind you can also stand on the western wall and the southern wall. Essentially, standing this close to the wall will prevent the Lizardman Shaman from jumping, which allows you to be able to deal more damage, and it's one less attack that you'll have to worry about as well. So you can mark those tiles if you please, or just remember to hug the southern and western wall and you'll be good to go over there. For the eastern side, it is much the same. I have 4 tiles marked over here, and again, just hug the western wall and the southern wall. There's a little bit of a different cutout to this room, so you'll have to hug a bit further to the south, but that's perfectly fine, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate the other attacks right now. So, whenever you're going to hop up in there, go ahead and protect from range. Also drink up on your range potion, and then antidote as well. If you need stamina, use that as you please, but once you hop on in, then go ahead and start attacking the Lizardman Shaman. Also, make sure to set your quick prayers onto whatever you're going to be using here. You could also use boosting prayers if you're into that as well. It will obviously cut a bit more into the overall prayer potion intake, but it is nice for that added damage. So now I'll break down the attacks. Right there is the sort of acid attack that our gear is protecting us from. That attack where he summons the spawns around me means that they're going to blow up here shortly, so I'm going to want to move from them. If I don't move, they'll deal me about 5 to 10 damage per one, so it is a little bit. It's not too bad though. And beyond that, there's really not too much you have to worry about. There's a range-based attack that comes out as well, but that's why we're protecting range. And so really there's only 3 attacks that are going to happen here if you're doing everything properly. You'll have the range-based attack that's just like a small little dart being shot at you. You'll have the pool one that just hits right there and does nothing because of your gear. And then you'll have the purple guys that you gotta run away from. As long as you're just moving between different areas of the room, you'll be perfectly fine. I won't have to worry about that. If you do stand too close to the Lizardman Shaman, then he can melee you, so you want to look out for that. And I'm going to demonstrate it now, but if you stand out in the middle of the room, and then you'll see something like that where he jumps at you, and it's annoying because not only can you not attack him, but he might deal you a good bit of damage if you do not move in time. So really those are all of the attack styles that you'll be seeing from Lizardman Shaman, and that will be the case throughout. Personally, I enjoy this area much more than the others just because it's pretty close to a bank, and on top of that, it is very easy to navigate these rooms and not take too much damage from the shamans. But that really is about it. You might feel yourself becoming comfortable here, and if that's the case, then you can go ahead and just bring less sharks at the beginning of your trips. Make sure to go ahead and high alch whatever sort of alchables you also get out here, and you have the Bones of Peaches in case you do run low on food. Then you can go ahead and pick up the bones and cast the spell accordingly, and just basically spawn yourself infinite food. The only other thing I would see even worth mentioning is for some reason if they were to jump at you, then you could go ahead and turn off your prayers with the quick prayer and then turn it back on whenever they appear back at your side. It's just a very small mundane thing, but can potentially save you a little bit of supplies on your trips. The next is the Lizardmen Caves that can only be utilized on a Slayer task. There is a third location I'll talk about a little later, but personally I hate that location, so just throwing that out there. The first way to get to the Lizardmen Caves is through the fairy ring code DJR and then running to the southwest. The second option is the Carrot's Memoirs. Both of these still are going to leave it as a far run, so it's still going to be a little bit of a hike. One way or another, run your way on over here. If you don't have either of those options, you could potentially use a skills necklace and then run through the mall and continue down here if you wanted to, but that is up to you. Once you get on over here, then go ahead and enter the Lizardmen lair, and then you'll be in this nice little front section area. From there, there's a few different rooms you can hop into, but all of the principles are the same. Go ahead and range pot along with antidote, and then throw on a stamina dose as well and hop on in. My inventory is essentially the same as last time. The only time that it will really change too much will be for the third location where you can use a cannon. So go ahead, hop on in, throw on your protect from range, and then you'll be getting absolutely demolished right off the bat. As long as you're keeping at a distance and walking along the side of the room, you'll be perfectly fine to take all of the damage without really having to worry. I personally am not on a Slayer task right now. However, the Lizardmen are exactly how I described in the first location. There is nothing different going on here, and it's actually a little bit easier in my opinion in these rooms because the rooms are a bit small and there's a lot more locations at which you are safe from the jump. So I think that it's pretty good. Personally, I don't really even come here for Slayer tasks, to be honest, just because they're so far away from a bank. But if you're finding it really hard to get an empty room to yourself, this could be an option that would work out for you. But yeah, as you can see, really not too active around here, so it's not a fan favorite. However, it is a very nice location and one that is pretty quiet if you do wish to utilize it. Then the final location is the Lizardmen Canyon. The best way to get here is through the fairy ring code DJR. The second is the Xeric's Talisman teleport to the Infernal area. And then the third is the Carrot's Memoirs. So make your way on over to the Lizardman Canyon one way or another. Then from the southern border, go ahead and walk to the southwest and you'll find this little handhold that you can then climb down. Once you get down here, go ahead and protect range and start to prepare yourself. Grab a stamina dose along with an antidote, and then also throw in some range potion as well. It appears there's already a cannon down here, so I'm gonna have to hop and find a clean world, but once you have that acquired, it is a somewhat interesting setup here. So it appears that I have a clean world now. Gonna go on over here and place down the cannon on this little square on Runelight. I also have a fair few tiles marked over here. This is the one time where you can take a good bit of damage. As you can see right there, I easily could have been stepped on and would have taken a little bit of damage right there. But once you have it set up, then go ahead, make sure your cannon is firing, and just hug these walls as well as you can. Ideally, you want to only deal with 1 or 2 Lizardmen Shamans at once, so just try to go to a side where that is the case. The purple guys do become a bit of a hassle here, so you'll just have to run to polar opposite sides and try to set it up that way. This is kind of what I'm talking about in the sense that this is my least favorite area to go to because there's so much more going on here. Ouch. But yeah, I mean, the initial setup is actually somewhat difficult, but once you get it down, then it's not too bad at all. Got 1 Lizardman Shaman down, so now we can kind of run a good example. Just make sure to keep getting away from the spawns, and then as you go around to the other side, make sure to attack the opposite shaman. That way you're keeping up your DPS. Just using these corners as ways to maneuver and get away from the purple little spawns that will appear. Again, there's really not too much you have to worry about on this task other than those spawns and maybe getting meleeed if you run too close to the shaman, so you should always sort of prefer to run away rather than towards if possible. But as you can tell, once you start to get them killed a little bit, then you get into this nice rotation where you'll only have 1 or 2 alive at a time, and even if 2 are alive at a time, typically they're not going to both be attacking you at once. So the initial setup is a bit difficult, but once you get the first few kills down, then you're basically into a 1v1 against the Lizardmen Shamans, which is much more appropriate towards the situation. Definitely more towards what we're looking for here. And you can also have the cannon, which is the big bonus of this area. If there wasn't a cannon option here, honestly, I'd find no reason to even come here. But given that you have the opportunity to set up a cannon and farm your D Warhammer with a little added DPS, makes it all worthwhile. So yeah, that is going to be it for this Lizardmen Shamans guide. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. On top of that, anything you'd like to let me or others know, would love to know in a comment down below. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.